Okay, well, I will get started. Appreciate everybody joining tonight. I think a lot of you probably know me already. We've been working on this site for quite some time. I'm Tim Lochran. I'm the Director of Land Acquisition for Robertson Brothers Homes. Like I said, we've been working on this, I want to say, since 2019. So it has been a while. I'm not sure how much everybody has followed the project. But the overall site did receive approvals from the city council, unanimous approvals a couple weeks ago, unanimous approval from planning commission before that, I think in October. So what we're proposing today for discussion as part of this citizen participation plan is the site plan amendment, and really just kind of high level, the reason why the site plan amendment is going forward now after we just got approvals. We added a couple of parcels to the project. A couple of the parcels are on Pontiac Trail, two about 5-acre parcels. And the reason we did that is because the city of Ann Arbor has a pretty extensive open space requirement. 65% of the site has to be open space. So by acquiring those two additional parcels, that gave us additional land to propose basically the final units, which I'll share with you tonight. So that's really what the purpose of tonight is. The overall project, as I mentioned, it is approved through the city council. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works because I have a new computer. Tell me what you're seeing, please.
Robertson home, Village of Ann Arbor,
Okay,
presented.
that's what I wanted you to see. That works.
Mhm.
Okay, and DTN management, they're not on the phone or on the Zoom here, but they are our partners. They're based out of Lansing, and they're a very good outfit. And they are experts at apartments. So they're basically it's a joint venture on the entire project, but they are experts in the for rent. We are experts on the for sale portion. So I'm going to go over kind of both the overall project and the site plan amendment, but I think it bears referencing the overall site plan, the overall project in relation to the discussion we're having here with the site plan amendment. It's a total of 78 acres. Now that includes about a 10-acre landfill. So I'm not going to go into the full detail history of the site. Some of you already know it, but a portion of the site was actually a city of Ann Arbor landfill back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And, there's a reason why there's 78 acres of land just sitting in the middle of Ann Arbor. It's a very difficult piece of property. We're not proposing to build on the landfill at all. We're not proposing that. We're proposing, you'll see in the site plan amendment, to utilize it for some active walkway areas, which we've already cleared with Eagle. Eagle is the state, formerly MDEQ, environmental quality. But again, about 8 to 10 acres of it is landfill that we're not building on. There's another portion of it that was used as mining operations. In fact, before the landfill, all of it was mining operation. And they used it for some construction fill, so that we are building on that area. It's required some extensive environmental remediation and specialized foundations to deal with that. Again, this is a very difficult piece of property. People have looked at it and dropped it over the decades. I guess we had the guts to to move forward with it, but it's pretty tough. The city of Ann Arbor, this was actually, all of these parcels were in the township, the full 78 acres. We have annexed all of the parcels in, including the last 5 acres that we'll talk about here in a second. And but the city always sort of had this geared toward higher density. They had it in their master plan at 7 to 10 units per acre overall. So that, that's more than a single family. That's less than, a high rise or mid rise. But they were looking for what we call missing middle type of housing. And that's exactly what we have proposed and what we've gotten approved. The number of homes proposed in this current site plan amendment that we'll share tonight, there's 120 in that site plan amendment. That's what we're adding to what was already approved. We actually already had 484 units approved. That includes 164 for sale townhomes, essentially, and attached single-family townhomes, and then 440 for lease for rent apartments in different configurations. And what was approved before was 320 for lease. So we're adding 120 to that. The plan type that we're talking about tonight are stacked for rent units. That's in the current site plan amendment. The other plans that were approved already include, as I mentioned, townhomes, 3-story and 2-story, and then garden style apartments. And the unit sizes for this area with 120 units would be 684 square feet to 1,033, both 1 and 2 bedrooms. So I'm just going to hit these real quick. Some of you have already seen all of this, but what we like about the project is there's a number of entry points, multiple entry points from apartments, smaller apartments, all the way up to larger attached single-family townhomes. A lot of open space, and we are providing a neighborhood connection. Basically, Olson Park will connect to Leslie Park. If obviously you guys know the area, your neighbors, you know that it's very difficult to get to Leslie Park. This project is opening up a public access to Leslie Park that'll basically connect straight from Olson Park, which we just thought was a really huge component of this project. It's very walkable. We've got over a mile of bike paths and sidewalks. A mix of residential land uses, again, in that targeted growth location that I mentioned before. It involves the reclamation of a previous landfill property, and we have a number of green energy initiatives. A portion of it is all electric, so that's not a requirement. We're proposing, or we had proposed to do that for the for sale section, and the city was happy with that. We're providing energy efficient appliances throughout. Family-oriented plans, as I mentioned, anywhere from 1 to 4 bedrooms. So really kind of runs the gamut of what type of buyers that will be living there. High quality owner-occupied homes and amenitized apartment homes. And then we've been around a long time. So you've got a developer here that has been around, and you know, we work very well with our neighbors, and it's something that's very important to us. So you know, you can ask around. Hopefully, you'll hear that. I know you will. Context plan. This is basically showing, you know, how we fit into the neighborhood. Quite a bit of density in the area. You've got the co-ops to the south. You've got some townhomes to the northwest. You've got some smaller single family throughout. It's all zoned R4A. R4A is an attached residential zoning district. That's what we're zoned now, R4A, on all the parcels. So this is what was approved about 3 weeks ago. And as you can see, we'll be adding some people in as we go here. As you can see, again, this was approved 3 weeks ago from the city council. It was unanimously approved for 164 for sale townhome units, both 2 and 3-story here. You can see, hopefully my cursor is showing up. And then everything basically, for the most part, south of that east-west road, those are the apartments. There's 320 of them. They're garden styles. I mentioned 2-story apartments with a very nice clubhouse in the middle. This clubhouse actually will serve all of the residents in the neighborhood, including the for sale. What I'll point out on this site, you can see this approved plan was before we had these parcels here. We have picked up these parcels and got them annexed recently. And you can see off of Pontiac Trail, that's our western boundary here. We've got the connection that'll go into Leslie Park all the way through. That's open to the public. So they're private roads. They'll be maintained by our association. However, they are open. They'll have a public easement, so anybody can use them. Same with the road going to north-south, going out up to Dhu Varren. That road also is a public road, public easement, but it is a private road as well. So we thought that was very important to open this up, not just to our residents, to our neighborhood, but to provide that access overall for the neighborhood as a whole. And then this area here, this kind of wide swath on the eastern portion of it, that is the former landfill. You can see what we got approved, the site plan that we did get approved, really didn't show anything there. If you're familiar with the site, heavily wooded. It's an old landfill, but over the many decades, it's really turned into a very lush kind of treed area. And we were proposing just to leave that untouched. I'll show you with our site plan amendment what we're proposing to do in that area with the blessing of Eagle, of course. Again, we've got the clubhouse here and our large retention pond to the west. You've got wetlands as it goes out to Pontiac Trail, which obviously we're not developing on. And then this portion right up here, you can see was kind of a green space. That was a to be determined based on a site plan amendment to move forward, which as I mentioned, that's the purpose of tonight's meeting. So I'm going to go back and forth probably from this approved plan and the site plan amendment, which follows here. So you can see, and I'm having trouble. Oh, here we go. You can see up on the northern section, this is where the additional rental homes that we're talking about would be going. So this is about an 8-acre area of land. And essentially, we're proposing 4 buildings, 3-story buildings. They are stacked, meaning you have ranches on the first floor, and then the second level, again, more ranches, and then the third floor, again, more ranches. So we call them stacked units in configuration of 4 separate buildings. They're attractive. I'll show you the elevations, attractive elevations, very similar to what you'd see with our townhomes. It's just a single building for 30 units. I see a chat in here. Yes, I can send out a copy of the project highlights. In fact, you all have my contact information. If you want to email me, I'd be happy to send you this whole PDF if you'd like. So again, I've mentioned these. You can see here, and let me zoom in on some of this. Hopefully you can see this. You can see here, this is that area we're talking about. We'll have an entrance off of Dhu Varren. We are actually sharing this entrance with our neighbors. I know we're on this call tonight. And again, that's the road that goes all the way north-south. I'm going to scroll down just here a little bit. This is the landfill area. You can see this orange kind of path here. That is a wood chip path. And again, that's through the landfill, which kind of sounds a little scary, I guess. And that's why we didn't propose anything for quite some time. We've done a lot of research on this. We're working with Eagle on this. So this site plan amendment will basically bring in the amenity of adding this nice wooded walkway area into the plan. Again, we're going to work with Eagle on it. It won't be unsafe to use whatsoever. There may be some areas where we have to not let any pedestrians through. But for the most part, we've got enough cover on the landfill to make this so it's not an unsafe condition. So that's part of the plan here, working with Eagle on that. And then the other portion of the new site plan amendment is, you can see we've pulled in this area here. This was not part of the plan before. Hopefully I don't think my hand is showing, but on the west portion here, you can see there's kind of a carve out for a house. This house is an existing house. We're buying the area around it from the seller, and they are maintaining the house. They wanted to keep the house. So that is what we're proposing here. But everything else around this is in the site plan amendment showing as open space. The other thing that's really, I think, a huge advantage to this site plan amendment is this community park amenity. So what we've done is we recognize we had all this area here that we were using it as quote unquote open space, but it wasn't really usable open space. So what we're proposing is to take that area and create a community park amenity. And this doesn't really show up all that well, I think, and it looks pretty computerized on my screen here. But the intent is to create a kind of an extension here to the project with walkways, a dog park down here, and some community gardens as well, which would be part of our development. So we think that that's a really nice addition to the project, to add that usable open space rather than just having it sit there as blank canvas. And you can see we're adding quite a bit of trees back in there because it is wooded today. So those are the three main components, if you will, of the new area. And I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times. Oh, sorry. Back and forth from the current approved and the new one, just so you can see the addition. If I focus you on the bottom left, we added in those parcels here. So you can see there really was nothing here west of where the apartments were. Now we're adding in this nice community amenity. Again, there was nothing in the landfill area. We're creating these trails. And then, of course, on the northern side of it, which was kind of a placeholder. And we were always very upfront with everybody that this would be development in the future when we were able to incorporate this area. What we're proposing are the four apartment buildings there. So that's the site plan amendment. Kind of in a nutshell, really not much change overall structurally with the project. We think it just gets better, especially with this open space area and this walking trail area. Housing products, the only thing that's different from what was approved a few weeks ago, which I think a lot of you have already kind of watched the project progress. The only thing that's new is this portion here. As I mentioned, it's 3 stories. They look like just our typical townhomes in many respects. The version we're proposing does not have townhomes. I'm sorry, does not have garages. So it's basically just this. It would basically look like this entire townhome all the way across. So that's the product. Again, we're not proposing anything larger than 4 or 5 story, which are allowed in our R4A. We're proposing 3-story, which meets the requirements, the height requirements for number of stories. The other products, these are, again, not changed. We have attached 3-story townhomes for sale. We have attached 3-story townhomes for sale, which are 1 cars. The top ones are 2 cars. The bottom left here is just showing the clubhouse, renderings of the clubhouse. Bottom right is are the apartments, the garden style apartments. And then rounding it out would be the 2-story attached single family 2-story townhomes here, just to the west of where the landfill is currently. So that's the housing products. Just quickly going over some of the highlights. Again, I've talked about some of these already. 65% open space, all electric component. You can see this connection. I'm highlighting the connections to the parks. We have 500 EV connections. Every garage will be pre-wired. And then we will have 36 EV charging stations for guests overall, multiple entry points, a bus stop along Pontiac Trail. There'll be a bus stop that we'll put in a shelter. We're working with AATA to do that right at our entrance here, a covered bus stop. Obviously preserving a lot of wetlands. And then we're also proposing clubhouse solar panels and solar street lights throughout. Again, I don't want to go through all of these. I kind of threw this in there because this is what we had with our city council approvals, but the B component of all electric. I think I talked about all of these probably already, but just kind of goes to show that we're really providing a lot in this project. It is not a planned unit development. Planned unit developments usually require pretty extensive public benefits. This is a straight R4A zoning, which meets the master plan. We've done all of these voluntarily. We think it's a good project that we're proposing, and that we got approved. Again, we're today just talking about the site plan amendment to add in the additional units. So the city council agreed, the planning commission agreed, and we received unanimous approval on this from the city. So these are just some of the things that we're proposing. Again, over 1,300 new trees on site too, which I think is important. I believe this is my last slide, so just kind of reference for the site plan amendment. I'm happy to open it up for questions that all of you may have. So please go ahead and I guess maybe since there's so many of us, maybe raise a hand and I can call on you. Oh, Patricia, was that you? Yes.
Okay, I was trying to figure out parking and where people are going to enter and exit. So they're going to be exiting on Pontiac Trail, right? I mean, they can exit on Dhu Varren Road, but it looks like more likely that you'll be exiting on the majority of people out of to Pontiac Trail, right?
I think that's probably accurate, yes. So Most of the traffic will be, yes, Dhu Varren or Pontiac Trail. I doubt any will really go through. Leslie Park, there is an access through here. We are putting in a lighted crosswalk here on Pontiac Trail. We're also contributing funds for a roundabout for the intersection of Dhu Varren and Pontiac Trail. That was something that the city thought was very important. That was in part of their capital improvement plan. We were able to fund that, a large portion of that for them. So yes, traffic, we go in here. I think you had a question about parking too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where are people parking?
Sure. So each of the units for the townhome units will have either a 1 or 2 car garage. Same goes for the apartments. Most of those will be 1 car. I think we do have some 2-car garages in these apartments here. Plus we'll have guest parking. So I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit on some of these. You can see some parking throughout. These little spaces here, 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 and then of course here. But again, all of these units do have a garage included. So that's the parking. By the way, the city wants less parking. So that's always kind of how do we manage making sure we have enough parking for our future residents, but also, make the city happy that we're not putting in too much parking. For this area up here specifically, these will not have garages. This is the new area. I don't have the exact number. I think it's about 1.5, I think, spaces per unit, maybe a little bit less overall for this area here. And I'm sorry, I should have the number on the top of my head. But those do not have garage spaces. So those would be all surface parking spaces. And we'll be proposing some EV stations in this area as well.
The question I also have is the border of Arrowwood. How will that be? We don't want to see you.
You can see we've got quite a bit of buffer here. We think buffers make good neighbors, but
we do too. Okay, but what is your buffer actually? Is that going to be a raised? Is it going to be like just trees?
They're just trees. Yeah. Well, we are obviously forced to keep the grade at the same grade it is on your property line right now, and I don't think there's much of a difference in grade coming off of that. What we're proposing to do is a number of trees. So you can see there's a double tree line area here. So the thought was just to, make a nice, beautiful treed area, treed buffer area. My guess on looking at that, Patricia, is it's probably, because it's double lined of trees, it's probably in the neighborhood of 30 feet, 25, 30 feet. So,
wide?
Yes, yeah, deep, I guess. And then these darker green ones are evergreens. And then these other ones here are deciduous. So you'll see all the way through the winter a nice screen of evergreens all the way across. So hopefully that.
Okay. We also have one little issue that we have water that used to flow on our through our cooperative. And it was supposedly a creek at one point, someone said, but I wonder how it's going to affect what we have now as through our valley.
Well, that's a great question. So when we design a project, we always have to have a stormwater basin. So you can see this is a very large area. I don't know if my hand's coming. Is my hand coming through on this?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is a very large stormwater management basin. So that's going to capture all the water from our site. And have it sit there and it'll slowly be released into the natural water course. There's a requirement from engineering. So the natural water course is this wetland complex here. So it will basically sit here and then ultimately it will be released slowly into this wetland complex. So that wetland complex might be what you're talking about, a stream. It's on the western portion of the site. And, if we didn't release that water back, the wetland complex would basically die. I don't know how much of it's going to get into your property or not, but it's not going to be any more than it is today. It would be less because we're going to be capturing that water in that stormwater basin. So I can talk to you offline if you have some specific questions on engineering. I'd be happy to do that. And I could get my engineers involved. But realistically, when we go in, we have to bring it up to code, which requires very extensive stormwater management.
Okay. Well, yes, I would love to talk to you about that. I'm retired, believe it or not, but I'm the former manager at Earlwood. And
Okay,
so I'm concerned about the water. Um,
got it.
and we have garden wells. So I want to make sure there's no effect on our garden wells and our water. So and our little flow that we have through our cooperative. All righty.
Yeah, so
I
if
love the evergreens bordering us. That'll be
yeah,
great.
good, good. If you wanted to reach out to me, not to give you an assignment, but if you wanted to reach out to me, you have my email address there. I'll make sure that we get
I
together.
will.
Sure.
We'll get to know each other. I'm very friendly.
I love it. Good. Any other questions, Patricia?
No, I don't want to take up the whole time. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Diana. How are you?
Good. So, the southern half of the development is 484 units on 68 buildable acres. Is that right?
58.
58.
Yeah, because we added 10 acres with this new site plan amendment. So we've got seven. So it's a little tricky. We've got 78 total gross, 68 buildable. Before we had 68 gross and 58 buildable. So there's a 10-acre landfill, if you will, plus right.
Yeah.
Um,
So 484 on 58,
yep.
but up by my house, you're gonna have, so that equals 7 per acre or 8 per acre. But up by my house, you're gonna double that and have 120 units on only 8 acres, which is 15 units per acre.
Well, I think we added 10 acres to get the 120. So I'd say that maybe it's 12 units per acre, but it really is the entire project. That's how they look at
Yeah,
it.
they add it all together, divide it out, and
Correct.
what so the zoning changed, and what does the current zoning allow?
R4A allows up to 10 units per acre.
Okay,
What's the overall height of the buildings, Tim? I noticed they have peak roofs on them.
Yep. So the overall height is and they measure it to the midpoint, Andy. So the midpoint, and that's just how they do it. But the midpoint requirement is 35 feet. Right now, that midpoint's around 38 feet. We've been talking about maybe pursuing a variance on that, but honestly, we can lower the plate height, kind of as another option to bring that down to the 35. So we'd meet the 35.
Just out of curiosity, you see a lot of these buildings with flat roofs. Do you guys consider flat roofs at all on something like that? Or
In
is it-
Michigan, it's expensive, obviously. Some of these have flat roofs and it's a very expensive option. It's something I guess we have conversed about. I think we've got kind of a challenge. I mean, parking's always an issue, right? Either you get too much parking or not enough parking, and then price points are also an issue. So you either you're too expensive or you're not, you're too inexpensive. So we're sort of struggling with that, to keep our price points down. I think going with a flat roof would really probably put it out of reach for, I think.
And this building is a product you guys have built before, and you know how it ends up going.
Our partner DTN is building it right now in Traverse City.
Okay. And so DTN will be doing the construction, or are you doing the construction on it?
That is a very good question, Andy. So we'll definitely be doing the construction on the for sale. And we've had discussions on which one of us would take the lead on that. So we work very well together. I assume they'll probably do the construction. We're a little, they're based out of Lansing. So from a logistics standpoint, it might be us.
Okay.
I do want to reference, not to interrupt you, Andy, because I know I told you guys this as well. Our intent is that this would be really a future phase, probably one of our last build outs. So in fact, even this roadway connection will probably be, one of the last phases done. So I didn't point that out earlier, so I wanted to point it out.
And that's still the plan, is to do the Dhu Varren connection as a different phase?
Correct. It is.
Was there any thought of doing a lighted crosswalk on Dhu Varren as well? Why is it only on Pontiac Trail?
If I understand correctly, I think there's one already existing to the west.
Oh, and by Gretchen's house?
Yes.
That lit up?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know of any lighted.
I mean, I'm trying to imagine this many more people on foot getting safely across Dhu Varren with increased traffic to enjoy Olson Park. And there's like a pretty steep drop off if you go straight across.
Yep.
So you do have to walk down to Gretchen's house to use the crosswalk, but I thought there would be another one up here.
It hasn't come up in any conversations with the city. Now, I will say, and I didn't point this out when I started, which I should have. We have not submitted to the city yet for this section. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, everything south of this area here has received approvals. This section here, we're in the middle of doing our pre-application meeting, and then our formal submittal, which requires this meeting here. So that might be something that comes up in our discussions with them. So I'm gonna jot that down. I think that's a good.
Yeah, especially because there's no sidewalk connecting over to Gretchen's house.
Right.
So if you can at least cross safely and walk on the park side of the road,
Yeah.
it's better than how it is now.
Well, are they going to put a roundabout at Dhu Varren and Pontiac Trail?
Yes. Yeah. Well, as part of our approvals, we had agreed to fund the majority of that roundabout.
Well, can they include a sidewalk in that area also? Is that possible to just, insert that in the plans?
I haven't seen the plans. That's a good point. I'll look into that as well, but that is a city project that we're just donating funds to. So I can certainly look that up.
Tim, I don't know if you mentioned this, but when is all of this going to be started?
I did not mention that specifically. So this area, which was approved, we are phasing portions of it. But the first phase will be predominantly a lot of the infrastructure. We'll put this road in. Let me get a different, go to this site plan. We're going to put this road in on phase one. A portion of this road, we'll put in the stormwater basin. We'll put in the clubhouse, and a pretty big portion of each one of these products here would be in phase one. My guess is, you'll start seeing a lot of activity spring of next year. We'll get some work done this year, by the end of this year, but most of the work will be done in 2024 for the first phase.
Okay, I also wanted to ask, Pat, there is a fence that borders Fort B, Lot B. There's a wooden fence there. Will that be taken down and the trees be put up, or does the fence belong to Arrowwood?
You're talking down here?
Yes, border.
So, and I don't have the Alta in front of me, the Alta survey. That would tell us if it's on your property, we wouldn't touch it. If it's on our property, we would remove it and we put the tree buffer up.
Okay.
I'm curious, whatever happened, Tim, with the sort of an entrance into North Side
Norfolk Development.
North Side Ridge. You can see the little drive that kind of ends.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I remember there was discussion about that. It looks like nothing happened with that.
That's some really significant grade.
Oh,
We just couldn't make that work. We are having a pedestrian connection there. It doesn't look like it from there, but we'll have a pedestrian connection there.
yeah.
There's a water connection. I know that as well. That was really the main purpose of that stub. But yeah, from a putting that road in, there's just no way to do it.
Yeah.
Meet any of their grade requirements.
But you can walk through there. That's
Yes.
that
Most
seems good.
definitely.
All right. I'm Do you know what the setback is, Tim, on that first building in the phase 3 or whatever you're calling it from
Right
the,
here?
yeah,
From the property line?
yeah.
Yep, let me get out of this so I can start looking the stop sharing.
Hmm.
I'll look at the engineering plans real quick. I think there was another hand raised. April, while I'm doing that, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, hi again. Hi. So I'm president of the North Sky development over here,
Yep.
and which is currently directly across from your Robertson homes, townhomes. And so where Patricia may have said that she doesn't want to see you, well, we don't want to hear you. It's been really quite loud with what is happening. So does a developer have any sort of assessment of the infrastructure? I just can't see how they can bring on this number of parcels or homes, excuse me. I'm saying homes and collective, and then to just be on a 2-lane Pontiac Trail. I have to, at the 8 o'clock hour, or even when folks are going back and forth through the hospital ambulances, it is, and I know that they're proposing the Lower Town plan, and so I know that they're proposing some roundabouts, and yes, that will help. But you know, how many access roads are dumping out to Pontiac Trail? And I know also that you spoke about some bus stops. Is that the current bus stop that's right there, right by? Yeah, can you show me where, I'm sorry that I can't quite tell on this map. Can you show me where your current building is right now, the new townhomes?
Oh, you're talking here. These are not ours. The ones that are building?
Yeah, I thought
That's
they were.
Norfolk Homes. That's not us.
Oh, I apologize then. I apologize on that. All right, but can you just show me where those at? Is that where your cursor was and sort of like the darked out or the grayed out area over there? I see. So you're building on that other side of that.
Yeah,
So
much farther away.
then that bus stop, when you were talking about a shelter, because Arrowwood
Here.
has a shelter,
Yes.
then that must be, is that right across from the one?
No, ours will be farther north. So that's our main entrance here, which is just south of where the Norfolk building is going. So this is our intersection. I believe the shelter is right here.
Okay, over there. So what type of planning do you folks do in order to look at the roads around the area? And do you do some sort of a traffic assessment via the number of cars at certain times? Are developers required to do that?
Yes. Yeah, we had a full-blown traffic study that was required that the city reviewed. That's how we came up with the lighted crosswalk. That's how we came up with the donation to the roundabout. So yes, it's a very, I'll tell you, very lengthy process with regard to traffic analysis. I'm not an expert, so we hire experts to do all of that. And then the city has a pretty tough traffic department that we work with. So yes, that's all been very well litigated over the last 3 years that we've been working on this project.
And then would we have access to that, or would we have to go through the city in order to look at that?
It would be, yes, it's certainly open record. It's what we've submitted. eTrack-It, I don't know if you're familiar with that website, eTrack-It with Ann Arbor. Very good website. Everything we submit is on record and accessible. So the easiest way and quickest way, frankly, is go to eTrack-It Ann Arbor. You can put in the project name, Village of Ann Arbor, and then under the site plan, you'll see probably 100 documents. Maybe
Okay.
70 documents, but it will be definitely part of that. And we will be providing an updated traffic analysis
Yeah.
for this next phase.
Well, I mean, not, I know exactly where the other folks were talking about across Dhu Varren, excuse me, across Dhu Varren, that the only lighted crosswalk at Dhu Varren is to the bus stop, actually. It's on the other side of Gretchen's house. It's not even directly on Gretchen's house.
Okay.
But yeah, that there's a lighted crosswalk by the one, but also were you planning on doing a lighted crosswalk, excuse me, at Dhu Varren and Montana Way at all?
That's not part of the plan right now. So it's certainly something that, I'd anticipate having a discussion with the city on.
So I just have one more question. So you have been, I think every time I've heard you talk, especially at the city council meeting, you've talked a lot about the landfill and the type of land that it is and that it's not easy, et cetera, et cetera. So why are you building there if it's not easy? So why are you doing it?
Because the master plan for the city council really encouraged growth here, and it just took a long time to figure that out. So it's Ann Arbor. We think that it's a great project, and we want to move forward with it. So I think a lot of people were scared off on the fact that there was a landfill, but we're not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Andy and Diana, I know. Sorry to cut you off there. I did
I was
measure
gonna
it.
say, I was on E-Track it the other day and looked up and 2 hours went by.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no doubt. Just to
So-
answer your question before, because I'll forget it, it's about 70 feet from the
Oh,
base
70
patio
feet,
to the property
okay.
line. Because there's a 66-foot public access easement.
Mhm.
And I think it's more than 70 feet because we're about, I'd say 10 feet from that public access easement, which goes to your property line. So it's at least 70 feet away.
Wow, okay.
Okay, Tim, I have a question.
Actually, I think Andy and Diana had a couple more
Okay,
questions.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna contribute that when I got on E-Track it and then put in the development name, it still took me then another minute to figure out what all the abbreviations to the links were for and which one was the mother lode of everything.
Yep.
So it's labeled SP to CC. And I figured out that stands for site plan to city council.
That's correct.
And if you click on that, there's, I don't know, 80 or so links to every document, to everything that's been done for this development, all of the developers' paperwork, all of the city council notes, all of their questions, all of Robertson's responses. And I learned a lot from looking at that.
Yeah, we're an open book.
Yeah.
Okay, Janet?
Yes, I'm concerned about a traffic light, possibly at Arrowwood Trail and Pontiac Trail. Is that foreseeable, including with the roundabout on Dhu Varren and Pontiac? Because it really looks like there's going to be a lot more traffic flow with people coming down on Pontiac Trail, coming from South Lyons, going to the hospital, and the students at the one, and there's just going to be a really increase of traffic. So have you guys considered traffic lights?
That is not something the city really has ever said they wanted there. They were very specific about the most important thing is this traffic roundabout. That was the number one thing. And they do know that there's an issue obviously further south of here. That's a bigger issue. It's, we're the last ones in here, but there's been an issue for a while to the south of here.
But when you say to the south, when you take to the south, you're talking about Barton Trail?
I'm talking about Barton, yeah. So that, I know they're still kind of working through all those issues. I've never heard a light at Arrowwood, but I could be, I don't think there is. That's not what I've heard.
Okay.
Ken, how are you?
Good, Tim. How are you? Thanks for doing this meeting.
Yeah, of course.
If I could correct one thing you did say at the beginning, that Planning Commission unanimously approved this project last year. That's not correct. Commissioner Ellie Abrams voted no on the site plan. She felt that the sustainability elements were way insufficient, and so she voted no. And I assume that that's your memory as well, right?
I was going by by the staff report, which you are correct. I believe that was erroneous now that I'm thinking about. We did. Obviously, you don't need unanimous approval by any measure to get approval. So, but city council, we did get a unanimous approval.
Yeah, no, I understand. Just for the record, that's just one vote, but I want to talk about that element, or ask about it. I assume that these 4 3-story apartment buildings will be heated with gas, furnaces or boilers, right?
That is our proposal. Yes.
Any solar panels?
We're not proposing any solar panels.
They're okay, so no battery storage, obviously. Compost collection.
We'll be meeting the requirement like we did on the apartments. I believe there was a separate compost section for that. So that's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but I believe we're repeating what we had done on the other sections, Ken.
As I remember, with 320 apartments in the other section, there was not going to be compost collection. It was just going to be for the for sale portion. Am I wrong?
I know we talked about having a receptacle for that, but you know, Ken, I don't know on the top of my head.
Okay. Will you, I assume you won't be seeking any further brownfield credits or public subsidy for the additional units?
No, the brownfield request we have now is our request.
By the way, April, when you ask why they decided to build on such a difficult site, I mean, it is to their credit that they're doing that, but they are being compensated with what they hope will be $31 million in brownfield tax increment financing. That's city, county, school taxes that will be diverted to the developer to pay for the remediation that they're doing on the site. So if that fills in any of the gaps here.
Yeah, the brownfield, just to tack onto that, the brownfield is a state legislated process, and it encourages development on very difficult sites that have been passed over. So this is a very well-structured process, and we're following that, you know, basically to the T, and it's been unanimously approved by the council. So you know, basically it brings a site up to being equal with one that does not have the environmental issues that, of course, we're remediating, which is better for the neighborhood. So just point counterpoint, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to imply that any of the brownfield funding was necessarily inappropriate.
Yeah, and we're also paying everything up front. I'm just explaining because I know a lot of people don't know the nuances. You know, we're covering all the costs up front. Nothing comes into our pocket. We're doing all the remediation, all the costs, all that 31 million comes out of our pocket. Basically, what happens is, you know, as taxes are paid by property owners over time, that does come back. So, you know, it's not dollar for dollar. We're losing time value. Money is obviously, especially with interest rates the way they are, it's nowhere near as lucrative as Ken makes it sound.
I did not want to imply that, you know, it was lucrative. I just wanted to say it was a piece that you didn't mention earlier that may have explained April's curiosity about, you know, why you decided to build on such a difficult site. You know, you are getting some help. Let's see if anything else on sustainability. Yeah, I'm very disappointed that we're not going all electric on this portion of the project. No solar whatsoever. Looks like no compost collection, or perhaps one receptacle. Yeah, if this meeting is for feedback, I want to, you know, go on the record as saying, in my opinion, this is unacceptable, given the city's 820 plan, which calls for net zero construction starting in 2022, all electric buildings. Yeah.
No, I do appreciate everybody's comments, Ken. And just so everybody knows, Ken and I, we've had a lot of conversations over the last year or so. I appreciate everything that Ken, what he gets involved with. So I think those are all good comments. I think for the compost, and I just got a text here, those compost pick up. So, and I don't know the exact details of that, but I know you're disappointed, and there's certainly things that we could probably take a look at as well. Anybody else? I didn't see any other hands raised. Anybody else I'm missing? Oh, April, go for it.
Hi, thanks. Just one more question, please. And I was going to ask about, so some of the open land or the wetland, could you propose some, or have you thought about adding some like rain gardens and things like that? Do you work at all with the Washtenaw Conservatory group when you're putting things in?
Those are very good questions. Obviously we have a lot of wetlands that we're preserving and not touching, and having our stormwater that meets all of their requirements. We can certainly look at that. Again, this is all kind of already determined and approved. So, we can look at some areas up here on some best management practices, but as of right now, there's nothing proposed in this area.
I guess I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Yeah, of course.
So the one has a clubhouse and a pool. Why would you also add a clubhouse and a pool to your area as well? And who is it targeting exactly? Is it targeting also those in the apartments?
Yes, so this clubhouse would be for the residents of the apartments and for the for sale. So everybody in this neighborhood. And that's, 600 is sort of a lot for one clubhouse, but we felt that we've sized it. The pool's been kind of enlarged, so we thought it was a good amenity to have for our for sale residents as well.
Thank you.
Okay, there were, I think, looks like about 12 or 15 attendees. Appreciate everybody's time. Again, raise your hand if you have any more questions, but if not, I'm always available. You've got my contact information now. And as Ken knows, we'll always talk. So by all means, please reach out to me if you have any questions. This has been recorded. It goes to the city for that, so they'll have record of all this. But our intent is to, as I mentioned before, we'll probably submit in about 2 weeks, which starts kind of that formal review process. City of Ann Arbor, I got to be careful because it's recorded. City of Ann Arbor is not the fastest to review projects. So I don't know the exact timeline, but the Planning Commission would be basically having purview to review and approve the site plan. Probably going to take a few months, is my best guess. So doesn't sound like there's any more questions, but I do appreciate everybody's time today. So thank you. And I did get the comments I got from April. I think Patricia as well. Please feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about any kind of specifics, neighbor specifics. That's no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.